Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who ruled and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Ra'aya with another video, and in this video, I'll be profiling an article from dailymail.co.uk titled, "Russia is fully ready to detonate a nuclear bomb in the Arctic any moment. It is revealed as Putin is urged to use apocalyptic explosion to threaten the West." And hey, it's going to get to the point to where it's going to be no more threats and actual nuclear missiles are going to be fired during World War III, which is all a part of biblical prophecy. And hey, you know, the fact that Russia has been building up its nuclear, and military assets in that Arctic Ocean region perfectly lines up with prophecy as well. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9. "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, the virgin daughter of Babylon, Babylon the Great, the United States of America, an assembly of great nations from the north country." And that north country is speaking of Russia because, Russia is north of the United States of America, as well as the Arctic Ocean, region, which, as I just said, Russia has been building up its military capabilities, nuclear included, in that region. And as we're about to get into in that article, they're planning on doing nuclear detonations there. And that's all in preparation for them eventually shooting nuclear missiles onto the United States of America. And you can look it up. Russia shooting missiles from itself across the north and from that Arctic Ocean region would be the shortest trajectory time for those missiles to reach the U.S. And that assembly of great nations unto the north country are not only Russia's allies like, China, Iran, and North Korea, but also America's own allies who at some point are going to turn against her during World War III and aid Russia in shooting nuclear missiles onto the U.S. Read Revelation chapter 17, verse 16, and the 10 horns referring to the European Union, which thou sawest upon the beast, NATO, these shall hate the whore that rides upon the beast, America, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, nuclear fire from those missiles. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows, speaking of those nuclear missiles, shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. This is Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. One woe or destruction is past, referring to World War I, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. World War II, which is past, and World War III, which is quickly coming upon us. And, for all intents and purposes, you can already say we're at the beginning of World War III. It's like every other day, you're reading about threats of nuclear weapons being used and Russia going against the U.S. in the West. Just recently, you had a bunch of Western nations authorize Ukraine to use long-range missiles provided by them, of course, to hit assets and targets deep inside Russia. So with that being the case, what does that mean? Russia is at war with NATO. And like I said at the beginning of the video, it's not going to be a threat. It's ultimately going to lead in an actual attack. Russia is fully ready to detonate a nuclear bomb in the Arctic at any moment. It was revealed today as Vladimir Putin presses on with drills unseen since the Cold War. The director of an old Soviet test site, first in the Novaya Zemlya archipelago, insisted that testing facilities are ready and can be used immediately if the order is given. Rear Admiral Andrei Sinitsyn said the test site is ready to resume full-scale testing activities. The laboratory and testing facilities are ready. The personnel are ready. Sinitsyn claimed foreign intelligence was monitoring the site, likely sign of concern over nuclear tests. Speaking to the state-owned Rossiyskaya Gazeta, we are constantly ready to repel all types of threats, including the penetration of sabotage and reconnaissance groups onto the island, he said. And with Russia building up its military capabilities in the Arctic, you've had the U.S. and some other Western nations start to pivot towards that region as well. And best believe that, a lot of these higher ups, understand that this is a part of biblical prophecy. The men of the Lord are under watch by these different intelligence groups. And then on top of that, you've got witches and warlocks, in those groups as well. And they see that the prophets aren't lying and everything is lining up with biblical prophecy. So they're trying to prepare accordingly. This is Jeremiah chapter 50. Back in Jeremiah chapter 50, I'm going to jump down to 43. The king of Babylon hath heard the report of them. And, the king of Babylon is ultimately talking about these elites, such as the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers that really, pull the strings of America. But it can also go into, the presidents, these other higher ups, you name it. And there's one thing I will never forget. When Donald Trump was a president, I think it was around the time of, let me think. It was either during the George Floyd protests or it was around the time of the January 6th insurrection. He put up a tweet saying, I guess the black, which were not black, Hebrew Israelites are happy to see America tearing itself apart. And then when I went to go look at it again, it literally must have been like 20 seconds. And that tweet was completely deleted, and I haven't seen it since. So like I just said, the powers that be are watching the prophets and seeing everything come into place accordingly. They've heard their report, so they're trying to prepare accordingly. And not just, the king of Babylon, but the heads of these different nations as well. Just look at Russia, for instance. A couple of months ago, Vladimir Putin, opened up their historical vaults in Russia and brought out those icons from the so-called Dark Ages, the medieval period, which showed so-called Jesus as a so-called Negro with a woolly afro. He showed, those old icons of the saints and the apostles, and they look like so-called Negroes. Why? Because during the Dark Ages, the Israelites were ruling in Europe. Now, why would Vladimir Putin do that? Just out of the kindness of his heart? No. They've been watching as well. And, the truth is coming out on who the true children of Israel are. Your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But the king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Because, what are we saying? America's going to get destroyed during World War III, and that the elites and the rest of these heathens, beginning with the Edomites or so-called white people, are about to go into hardcore bondage and slavery for 1,000 years. And they're about to, receive double what they did unto the children of Israel when they had them into captivity. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. And, also, even though they're going to be safe in their bunkers, they're going to be terrified as well when these nukes hit the earth and make it rock to and fro like a drunkard, as it says in Isaiah chapter 24. Mr. Sinitsyn said that the central test site of the Russian Federation, and, I find it beautiful that it's called the central test site, and from the north is the shortest trajectory time it would take for those missiles to reach the U.S. So that would mean it would be what? Essential, would be used for conducting and providing non-nuclear explosive experiments. He said the tests were in the interests of state security. But pressed on whether the site was ready to, if necessary, resume nuclear testing, he said, the testing ground is ready to resume full-scale testing activities, ready in full. If an order is given by Vladimir Putin, a test may still go ahead. The site has not been used for nuclear testing since October 1990, after which the ailing USSR ruled out future tests maintained by Russia. But hey, we're in the time when those Russians are getting pulled back into that old confrontational Soviet Union spirit, that Cold War mentality against the US, though this time it's going to go hot. That's it with that article. But now I'm going to go to Ezekiel chapter 38. I'm going to start at verse 2. Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, which is the biblical name for Russia, or one of the names for Russia in the scriptures, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And that's the Most High putting those Russian Edomites back into that old, Soviet Union spirit. Hence why, they're planning on resuming nuclear testing in that Arctic Ocean region at facilities that haven't been used since the collapse of the Soviet Union back in the 90s. And I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. And that's ultimately talking about Russia's military being gathered down into the Middle East, Western Asia, into the Valley of Jehoshaphat, for the Battle of the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, the main and final part of World War III, which you can read about in Joel chapter 3. But hey, while that battle's going to be taking place, that's when Yahweh, which is the true name of the Heavenly Father's Son, is going to make his second coming. And also, these nuclear missiles are going to be shot to the ends of the earth. And hey, that main target is going to be Babylon. And it's going to be that North Country with that assembly of nations unto it, turning America into the biblical lake of fire, from sea to shining sea, north, south, east, and west. And now I'm going to close it out. Back in Jeremiah chapter 50, I'm going to jump to 41. Behold, a people shall come from the north, Russia, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth, from the ends of the earth, that assembly of nations unto the north country. They shall hold the bow and the lance, those nuclear missiles. They are cruel and will not shew mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, every one put in array like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. And read Psalms 137, verses 7 to 9 to see that you Edomites are synonymous with the daughter of Babylon. I'm going to jump up to verse 40. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Yahweh. And besides being known as Babylon in the scriptures, America is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. And that is, without a doubt, easy to see why. And just as ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed with fire and brimstone from the sky, it's going to be no different with this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, except it's going to be from nuclear missiles. Saith Yahweh, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. And after America's turned into the biblical lake of fire, it's going to be a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland where man, woman, or child will never set foot on ever again. And after a time, only harsh desert creatures are going to be able to dwell here. Therefore, the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the island shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. And as we can see, these times of these prophecies being fulfilled are quickly coming upon us. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.